Hi everyone, happy Wind Down Wednesday. I'm Sister CEO and founder of Sistah Scifi, working hard to make Wednesday your new favorite day of the week. Um, if you've been with us on the journey today, you know that this particular Wind Down Wednesday has been interesting. I think I had to update, okay, my Instagram app, and that is books to which are the Wild Seed Witch Geology, which includes Wild Seed Witch and Wild Seed Witch Charmed Life. Yay! I'm so sorry about
We can
that. I was
see each other. That's
like,
amazing.
yes. I don't know. I literally don't know
Yeah,
what happened because
I don't know. We call it a ghost in the machine. We keep it pushing. It's fine. Like we're fine.
yes, okay. But and I appreciate your grace for all of that. So like
I'm
goes to the
sure that was
machine.
equally frustrating for you. It's like you're live and this like scary thing is happening that's never happened before. We're fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, yes. So how are you? Please introduce yourself to everybody out there in cyberspace.
Hello. So I'm Marti Dumas, and I'm a mom, a teacher, and a writer in that order from New Orleans. And I mostly write books that have, I have only to date, but I don't want to limit myself, written books for children that have middle grade or younger protagonists. But I am writing books so that the little me and the kids that were in my classroom will be able to see themselves in stories where being brown is not the problem, which was not the case for me when I was growing up. So this is like a life mission, we'll call it. We'll see we'll see how far I can get. And I'm so excited that there are so many other people who are joining in this particular branch of making sure that kids get to see themselves in books.
Agree. I love that story. Ooh. Um, Tim says hi, Marty, but he keeps auto-correcting Martin. So just know that Tim says hi, and there's a
My
first name
father
is
is Martin.
Marty.
He will be excited that his name keeps popping up in the thing. It's fine.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so you say mom, teacher, writer in that order. I feel like I missed one. I feel like there's four.
No, that's it. Mom, teacher, writer. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, mom, teacher, writer. So tell us about those identities. And so you had kids first and then you became a teacher?
No, actually.
Okay, so yeah, because you said in that order, and I was
They're
like,
in order of
oh, what's the
magnitude. They're
precedent?
in order
But
of,
you meant in terms of like
yes.
size and importance of that identity in your
That's
life.
right.
Okay.
That's right. So I was a classroom teacher for 13 years. I mostly taught elementary school, mostly fifth grade, which is like, I don't know if it's that I mostly taught fifth grade because it is my favorite age, or if I mostly write for middle graders because I taught fifth grade. It's probably feeding each other. However, no, I was a classroom teacher for 13 years, most of which before I had children. And but I am a mom. I'm a mom of a 17-year-old who is like getting ready to go off to college. I'm not ready. And also a 14-year-old who is amazing. And they are a huge part of my life. I hope they'll always be a huge part of my life. But it's really interesting because our connection, well, like just as strong, I think it's shifting, like it's changing, it's morphing as they get older. And I'm just really curious about how it will be when they're in their 20s or like 30s and like and moving out there. And then a writer, and I put it last not because I don't think that it's important, but the reason that I write is because I'm a mom and a teacher, and I know so many children who need these kinds of books, and it really honestly drives me. Like it really, really, there are always days when you're doing what you're doing where you're thinking, am I even good enough for this? Like, is this even, and for me, um, the possibility of quitting never lasts longer than like 2 or 3 seconds because I can legitimately see the people in my head that I'm writing for and who still need it. And so as long as they still need it, like I go and I'm like, obviously I'm not. I will
And
figure.
that's
I will cross
quitting.
this hurdle like every other one and keep it pushing.
And that's quitting writing, not quitting teaching.
That's quitting writing. I still I don't have a classroom at present, and but I do still work with teachers and running workshops for teachers, particularly around literacy and incorporating natural, or I call it organic literacy practices into their classrooms, the kind that build lifelong readers and writers. But I mean, as classroom teachers, sometimes you're like kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because there are mandates that are coming at you from the outside that are not actually in the best interest of the long-term health of the children. But sometimes people who are making rules are not as well versed as they think they are, and so then there are things that you have to follow. That anyway, I try to help teachers like sneak around those kinds of things so that we can still be building lifelong readers and writers. So
Yes. Well, still also making sure that their students pass all the standardized tests and
absolutely,
all the good stuff.
standardized tests are a thing. They're not very soon going to go away. Hopefully, eventually. Actually, I'm not. Oh, controversial opinion. I'm not actually against standardized tests. However, we use them all wrong, right? Standardized tests are meant to be helpful for, or were originally meant to be helpful for teachers and schools, at a higher level, right? So you're like looking at data in aggregate, not looking at individual children's data, so that you can see as a school program, are there larger things that we need to tweak? Are kids typically scoring lower in math than other kids in the country? Then that's like a macro change, not a micro change. But this has gone down. I just feel like it's being misused. And so therefore it becomes this evil, like harsh thing that is, anyway, that's a whole nother prayer service. So, but yes, so that we can still have children do well enough on those standardized tests, but also for me, knowing that your voice matters and knowing that consuming other people's voices will strengthen you is a life skill and has very little to do with standardized tests. So, looking past that, I think it's good for everybody. But, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I get that too.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So typically in the socials and at most Sistah Scifi, there are a lot of teachers, there are a lot of librarians.
Oh,
I do want to ask the chat.
Okay.
Yes. I do want to ask the people, are there any teachers in the chat? So let us know if you're a teacher. You don't have to tell us which school, but let us know what grade. So if you're a teacher watching this, give us a little wave or a flower or magic twinkles and let us know what grade. And it could be first or second, or you could say I teach middle school or high school or whatever. And if high school, let us know the topic. So that is a homework assignment for those of y'all in the chat. So Marti, going back to this beautiful, beautiful duology. And I think I told you this one. So gorgeous. I remember being at Children's Institute. So every year ABA hosts the Children's Institute, which is kids split. So I think that's 3 or 13 or maybe 18. Anyway, and I remember seeing this on the table and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what this book is about. Witches and lawsuits. I don't know, but I just want this book in my life. And so it was on my shelf, and I would just sometimes I would just pull it out and show my niece. I'm like, I don't know what this book is about, but isn't it beautiful? And then you emailed me, and I was like, yeah, but I haven't, now I'm fully motivated to read this story. And then yesterday was the publication date of Marti, which charmed the life.
Charmed life. Yes, I'm so excited for it. And it was yesterday. We had a lovely in-person party. I'm thinking of this as an extension of the in-person party because you've got out of town people who can't come in, and I was like, no, ISIS is gonna make it so that everybody can come.
Well, I'm here to celebrate. And on this, so on the first cover we have the main character Hasani and her signature flower. The
morning glory, which is
hilarious.
It's actually not on the cover, but the cool thing about book covers is that they are like cereal boxes, right? So when you go down the aisle for like, if you're looking for like something like holistic and all natural, you're looking for that like soft brown nature color, because it tells you what kind of cereal is going to be inside. But if you opened up a soft brown, you know, nature looking box and it poured out Lucky Charms, you'd be very ticked off, right?
Yeah.
Like the very, right? You would be like, what? So the cover like doesn't have to exactly match, but it has to match the tone, and it gets the tone 100%,
yeah.
100%, and it's so ridiculously gorgeous that I never would have asked for a single change on
No,
that cover. It is
and
so
honestly,
beautiful.
I don't know what a morning glory is. I don't know if I was that well, so like reading the flowers is interesting. And I was like, is this a morning glory? I don't know. Are these morning glories? So I didn't. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I don't know.
So morning glories are actually related to sweet potatoes, which I also think is very funny. But morning, I know, right? The more okay. So they come in actually lots of colors. The ones that are around in New Orleans, where I'm from and where I am right now, are like a purple color, very lovely purple color, and the tone of that is definitely incorporated into the colors on the first cover. But they grow like weeds here. And once they get in, you're not going to get rid of them. But they're beautiful in the morning before it gets really, really hot, and they close up, they like shrivel up, and they look like sad, and you're like, oh, somebody should fix that fence. Like like dead shriveled vines. But then the next morning they open again, and it's just it's lovely. It's lovely. And it's like a perfect metaphor for Hasani. That was actually the thing that the missing piece for me before I sat down to write the story. So usually I wait until I know the end, and I kind of knew the end, so I like could have sat down, but there was something between me and actually getting the story on the page, and it was that flower. Once I realized that it was that flower, I was like, we're done. Let's go. We're writing now.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love how that the morning glory was that critical missing piece for you. And then, I mean, if you brought the book, you already know this, but if you have not read Robinson Witch yet, each witch person has their own signature flower, right?
That's right. They all have their own signature flowers. Mm-hmm.
Marti.
It's kind of like fingerprints.
Marti, what is your signature flower?
So you thought you were going to trick me up, but you will not. It is the magnolia.
No, I'm not. Why would I try to trip you up? That is not.
It is definitely the magnolia, but this like dramatically predates any thought about this book or this story series. So I told you that I was a classroom teacher, and when I was a classroom teacher teaching 5th grade, we used to take the children every year on a 5-day camping trip. Yes, that was run by it, and it was actually the best experience. It was so good. But it was run by an organization called Teaching Responsible Earth Education. They actually still run this camp for people to bring their 5th grade classes through. And because it's in the South, people, like a part of the culture for us is that you would not call somebody who is not of your status by their first name. So like if it was like a teacher person or an adult person, like a teacher would be like Mr. or Ms., their last name, right? Like a very close family friend might be Miss, her first name. That's very close, right? And so then to avoid all of those dynamics at this program, they encouraged the adults who were coming along, including the teachers, to take nature names so that the kids had like a more egalitarian way of addressing you, but that was designated for this particular place. So that then when they were outside of this place, they'd go naturally back to their acculturation. But in this space, like it had this like whole secret thing. And my nature name was Magnolia, and I still identify as it. And so then that like I was like, oh, and I would be, but I'm not in this story. So like I don't ever but you know, like you would know like if there was some like Magnolia trace somewhere that you're like, oh, she just tucked herself in there. That was that was her sliding herself into the story.
Into the story. Why? Okay. Why Magnolia? How did Magnolia end up being a nature name?
Yes. So there are magnolia trees, several different kinds that are all over where I'm from in New Orleans. Like it is, and in the spring, like legitimately, I mean, I sound like I'm like a character on a TV show, but legitimately in the spring, New Orleans smells like a combination of magnolia blossoms and night blooming jasmine. And it's amazing. Like it's absolutely amazing until it's not, until it's overwhelming and there's petals everywhere and they're like squashed and it's like the smell that went from being like, oh, is like, oh my gosh, like when is this going to end? And I honestly, I'm not even saying this in a self-deprecating way. I just think that it's true. I am like this all the time. Like some of my friends are in the chat. I promise you I am like this all the time. And so then I think that for some people, like this is fun for like an hour. But then it maybe gets overwhelming.
Okay. So okay. I think you're great. So, but yes,
that's
okay.
Really
so
sweet.
that
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. But we have been on this for less than an hour. Okay. So
See.
So somebody in the comment for truly to you maybe not a teacher but an occupational therapist for K-8 and use books in session. So
Awesome.
We have one occupational therapist. I'm surprised we didn't have more teachers, but and
I saw a couple say things in as the chat was rolling through, so I think we got a few.
Yeah, so awesome. I'll keep looking at the comments. So we looked at the first cover. The artist is Eric
Davila. He is a genius. We'll leave it there. I like literally squealed when I opened the email that had, because I didn't get to choose, right? And sometimes that goes really badly for authors, but I opened the email and I literally squealed, like literally. And then I said, oh my God, is this Eric Davila? Because he had done, and I'm not a person who like internet stalks people. And I had not mentioned it to the publisher that I like really admired this artist, but he did the cover for With the Fire on High. And I was obsessed with that cover. It's so beautiful. And I was like, oh my gosh, could this be? Am I like just hoping in my heart? But then like I read through the email and like, yes, I was like, they didn't even know. It was amazing. It was a little bit of kismet. It was totally meant to be.
Yeah. Brick says, and I 100% agree, the cover is beautiful. Eric Davila did a great job. Eric Davila does some really amazing covers, but I would say this is probably one of my top at least 3. So yes, it was kismet and probably a lot of magic. So that's cover 1. We need Hasani. We see flowers that could be her signature flower, but are not. Then for Charmed Life, different color palette. Now we see some of her fruit. So we see Hasani, we see Othello, the cutest kitten ever.
He's amazing.
And then we see
so excited for him. LaToya.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, LaToya. Oh. You're like, that's, I was like, maybe that's loose. It's LaToya.
It's LaToya. Yeah. I mean, the cool thing about books, or hold on, it's meant to be LaToya. The cool thing about books is that, like, once the book is published, it's whoever you think it is.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to, like, no, like, I was like, I think I've been looking at it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is, I didn't really, like process it. I was like, oh, yeah, that is. Okay, it's LaToya. And it makes sense why they're back to back as opposed to some
as
other.
opposed to like
yes.
like
Yes, I thought they were like, yeah, doing like and like why LaToya looks a bit intense. Okay. So now I know. Okay. Where to start? I'll start with this one. So I loved the soft life, the soft Black girl summer. I was here for like the fancy rooms, the fancy breakfast, the tea party. Like this isn't the first one. The dancing swans, the pretty dresses. I was like the flowers. I was like yes, and yes. Was that your intention in writing Wild Seed Witch?
It was, and also like yes, right? For me, the most important parts of life are your connections with other people. And so then for me, I love stories. I mean, I also love a good story where like somebody's out to save the world, right? But like truly for most of us, our world is very small. Like the part of it that matters to us is very, very small. And it is mostly comprised of the people that we love, who we hope love us in return. And so then for me, that's always the biggest stakes in any story or situation, is like your connections with other people. And so I really wanted that to be a part of this thing, like the core of it. And I think it is. But in terms of, you're talking about their summer program at Belle Demoiselle, right? And I think of the Belle Demoiselle in my head. They are, if AKAs were witches, right? If you're,
if you're like 100%. I was like, I would not have gotten in. I definitely would not have made it through the summer. I would have definitely wanted to. I would have wanted to invite, and I would have wanted to make it in, and they would have been like, "Ice is going on."
I think that part of it is that's like really direct, and I'm sure that my intention is probably decently obvious to a goodly number of people, but maybe not 100% of people, right? Is the idea of having to be shaped as a Black woman. I was corrected so much, and I would say as a child, but like honestly, even as an adult, I mean, I'm a little exuberant and like subtly flamboyant in like in other, like in little ways or whatever. And I can remember one time, I'm saying it like it was so long ago, but it really wasn't. I was working in a nonprofit, and my boss was a Black woman, and I was like really excited about this whole situation. And on my second day in the office, I was there early. I'm an early person. I was there early, and she was there early, and she popped into my office, and I was like so excited because, like, you know, and she says, "You're gonna do great. I need you to do something with your hair."
What? Oh my God.
And I know that it was from a place of love. I have zero doubt that it was from a place of love, like none, right? Because I think that some of us, I think we're learning otherwise, right? But I think that some of us have been raising each other to be as acceptable as possible, right? You will be the height of excellence, right? Like, I need you to be beyond reproach in public. And so then that is in fact the goal for that. But poor Hasani, she doesn't know. But that is in fact the goal. It is like it is a finishing school. It is a charm school. Get it? Haha. It is a charm school, and the idea there is that if you can do that, if you can rise to that height of perfection, then once you leave there, A, you have that tool in your toolkit. You can use it whenever you need to pull it out, and B, you can use it if you want to. You no longer have to, right? But in order to, like, first you have to prove that you can do it. And so there's a lot of tension there for Hasani, who's, I mean, her mom is like, I mean, not exactly like me, but more like me probably than anybody else in the book. Like, her mom is like, you know, like, be free, like, you are, like, whatever. It's like, and so then she's not had that. Like, that's not been a part of her thing. And but for the first time, her mom's not there. And she just only has these other women who are legitimately looking out for her. But it does not always feel like that.
Yes. Yes. You know, you have Miss Villery.
I say Villery. In the audiobook, they say Villiers, which would be the standard French pronunciation. In New Orleans, you never know if you're going to get standard French or if you're going to get New Orleans pronunciation. And Villiers is the standard French, and New Orleans, people would say Villery.
Villery, okay. Okay. No, thank you for that. And I am dyslexic, so I'll mispronounce any everything. So please.
Again, now it's on the page. People can say what they want.
Yeah. So, and I could see the care for Miss Villarier's care for Hasani. And then I was like, also like, you know, let's step back from this internalized respectability politics, right? Like, and so it was like a push and pull, right? And so I loved, you know, Hasani questioning all the things. I did sometimes. I was like, Hasani, maybe we can listen just a little bit more. I like D. bending all the rules, right? Um, and, I did like looking at it as a tool, right?
Yeah.
Charm and not magic. I still don't know. So let me pause because I'm doing a lot of reflecting. What is your distinction between charm versus and not magic?
Right. So charm is something. So magic is more pushy. It's a thing that you are using a hammer, right? It is the brick, it is not the feather. So then it also in this world, your magic has a finite store. These are things that you find out eventually in the first book, but Hasani is being introduced into the world the same that we would be introduced into the world. So she does not have any known to her magical relatives. There's no one who has been teaching her these things. And so we are learning as she is learning, and she is so clueless that we end up being clueless for a long period of time in the book.
Very cool.
But eventually, by the end of the first book, you definitely know that charm, that magic is finite, and that you can in fact burn yourself out. So part of the reason why they emphasize charm and not magic so much at Mademoiselle Pensionnat des Sorcières, which is in Vacherie. Part of the reason they emphasize that is because charm uses so little of that, and yet can be so incredibly effective that they want the girls to default to charm and like use magic very little. And in fact, for them, it's borderline crass to be like intentionally, they call it squeezing your magic, to be like intentionally squeezing your magic. Their worldview is not the entirety of the worldview. They are one clutch of witches, right? And they have a very particular worldview. I legitimately think of them like a sorority, a network of witches who have common purpose in at least one thread, right? So then for them, that's their thing. But it is not a worldwide thing. Like if you were with other, and I try to show that a little bit with Grand Mayonnaise and some of the other witches that are in Vacherie also being magic, but doing it a very different way than the Belle Demoiselle do.
And like any other, I won't give out any spoilers or plot twists, but like with any other talented Black bourgeoisie community, they all know each other very closely.
Indeed.
You're like,
Indeed.
oh, okay.
Indeed.
The links are very close.
I love how close a reader you are. So like hold on, because I mean obviously you're like a reader, right? But like I've gotten tons of like letters and like email these days, like emails and like DMs, but also some physical letters. It's not dead. And also I love getting physical letters. So like if anybody's, I got a thing, you can look up, you can mail me on my website, you can do the thing. But I have only literally gotten one message. You are the second person who has referenced the Talented 10th. And in the first book, in the first or second chapter, the witch that comes to tell her that she is a witch does not just say you're a witch. She says you're a talented young lady. And that person was like, hold on, snap. I read this. They like screenshot it. They like said to me, they're like, is this like the Talented 10th? I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I feel like I should have a prize. But and then like you number 2, you're amazing. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this will stay but like I like the reason why I started Sistah Sci-Fi is I like reading the book, and I'm a very slow reader, so reading is an investment for me. So it's like if we're going to talk about the book, we're going to talk about it like go on page 178.
Right.
Blah 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 said. Right. And I'm like, it took me like a long time to read this book. We're going to talk about this book, and like I have a friend who reads really fast. So it's like, he's like, yeah, I thought it was great. This is what I didn't like it. We're done. And I was like, wait.
Whoa. We got to savor this. Hold on.
So yeah, so I like getting nuance. Like, and like discussing the book, like there's always somebody who caught something that you missed. You're like, oh, like I totally didn't get that. Like somebody's like, oh, and did you realize that so-and-so was related to so-and-so? And I was like, what? So like, yeah, I love the discussion and I love being nuanced about the details.
Very cool.
So if it feels this, so two things. I know we started really late, and that makes me really sad. Also, like, I have a book club discussion scheduled at 7. It's been meeting every month for like a long time.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah.
Or six right after that in 5 minutes. It's the last one. I was like, why is this happening? But all that to say, if you feel comfortable reading an excerpt, that would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
I love, and if you feel like it's not a giveaway, I love the scene where she goes to Vacherie.
Where she goes to Vacherie, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I was like,
Although that is the French pronunciation, but we would say Vacherie. But yes, Vacherie.
I was like, how do you say this? Because I would like to say it on the line, but who knows? And it's like the bottom paragraph on page 178.
178? Okay.
Yeah.
I will find the paragraph. I will read the paragraph. I don't mind.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. I know. But let's not say the full context because I do think it's a little term.
Yeah.
I will read the section.
I don't think we need to. I think
Awesome.
just, yeah.
The glistening people started first. Some spoke. Others just waved their hands and bits of watery light floated away from them toward the woman in the center. She closed her eyes and inhaled, soaking it all in. Then more women started to step forward. Some of them jetted out streams of light so sparkling and bright that I had to blink so my eyes could adjust. And suddenly, the empty patch of swamp was filling with flowers. Those were the witches. The ones who came before them must have been kismets, sharing what magic they could. It was like watching a trickle next to a stream. I thought it must have been embarrassing to be the one with a few drops of power when there were people around you who looked like they were pouring out rivers. But none of the kismets looked embarrassed, and none of the witches moved the kismets out of the way. They all worked together. It was beautiful to see, but it was beautiful to feel too.
And it was just like such a deep, I mean, that whole scene is such a deep sense of the power of community and nurturing and just like a different perspective on Black spirituality. Like I cried. I was for real crying. I was like on the plane and I was like, oh my God, why are you crying? And it was so touching and beautiful to read on so many levels. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I mean, like it's a feeling for me, right? And it means a lot to me. If there's like 3 people in the world who felt that too, like that fills my bucket. So thank you. Thank you for filling my bucket.
The last thing I'll say, ask is it's such a beautiful story, like grounded. There's lots of magic. There's lots of technology.
There's kittens. We're good. Like it's fun, y'all.
There's tons of kittens, right? And as a reader, I felt deep emotion, even though nothing traumatic happened, right? Like there were some worries, but like we don't talk about racism. Nobody died. You know, we talk about some of the, we had that conversation about sugar, right, and plantations, but it was just like I didn't have to sit in the trauma to feel, right? And so I like, how is that like creating an emotional book that's not rooted in the trauma of being a woman in the U.S. or Black trauma or, you know?
Yeah. So for me, that's literally everything, right? For me, that's what I was missing from childhood. Like I loved Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. Like the Logan family, like will always have my heart. But also, you know, the Klan was writing. Like there was fear, and like that's a real true thing. But also, so is this, and I want to have this as well. And I really want, it's like if we're building a future, right? If we're building a future where we have been able to heal that trauma, which I don't think 100% resides in us or even 50, but that's a whole other conversation. But if we are trying to build a future, like what's going to be there for us when we get there. Like that, I feel like that's at least half of the work, is imagining what that is like and giving us space to be in that. And I mean, I'm doing it in like my own way, right? Which is focused on children and surrounded by adorableness in everyday life. But I still think it's important. It's important to me. It's important to the young people. And I think that a lot more older people than realized. I've had a lot of my messages have been about how people were facing their traumas by feeling through Hasani's day to day. And my response is always, same, sis. I'm bringing it to my therapist. I hope you are too. Like it's it can be really powerful, but yes, in a soft, human, I think beautiful way. Yeah.
Very beautiful, very gentle. I loved, she's like, I'm a witch with a plan. I was like, yes, sis, get that whiteboard out. I was there for it. She's like, that's one, right? This will be my last question because I'm like, who would play Hasani in a television show? Either play Hasani if it was live action, like actress, or voice Hasani if it were a cartoon.
Okay, so now you've caught me because I don't know actor names.
Okay,
which is terrible.
I mean, neither do I.
But I think that this book, this series, I think is like totally ripe for a limited series. So I'm just gonna say that so that people can be sending prayers and the proper vibes up for something like that to actually happen. But I think that it is a perfect combination of actual Black American experience and like that show Never Have I Ever. Have you seen that one? But with magic. Oh my gosh, it's adorable on Netflix. But it's like actual life trauma. It's like the real things that will happen, that are happening to you, that you have to actually deal with, but also the softness and safety of family, and when there's a push and pull between those two things. And I think that this would work very similarly and very well to that. But yes, do you have ideas? Who would you pick?
So I know if we were to ask Instagram, live action, they would want the youngest sister from Blackish to play her.
Yeah.
Hasani.
Yeah.
Mostly because they wanted her to play everything. It's like, who do you want to like? It's like, yeah, the younger daughter from Blackish, and then if it's an adult, it's like Janelle Monáe. It's like most of the things.
Who doesn't want Janelle Monáe to do whatever? Like that's, I mean, yeah. Like.
There's so many. There's the I don't know if you watched. She may be a little old now. To play Hasani, because she's not like 13. She's like in her 20s, like early 20s. There was the daughter in Greenleaf. Not the main character, but the cousin. She would be perfect for like Hasani or potentially Angelique. We'll do a fan cast because I'm actually really bad.
That'd be great.
Yeah. We'll do a fan cast. That'll make things much easier. And yeah, I'll ask my social media managers. They do some searches. They come up with all the actors' name and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think the way it's written, like the dialogue in it. There's one. Hasani was saying something. She was like, "Y'all, I should have been ready. I wasn't ready." And I was like, "Yes." It was like I felt it. I felt like I was like, "Yes, I need to hear this in dialogue." Okay, this was amazing. We're going to do the fan cast. Thank you so much for this soft, gentle, book. Yeah, no, really. Thank you so much for writing these books, for like putting it in the world so we can see these beautiful covers. I drink tea, so now I think I'm a witch.
But you are. You definitely are. Oh, actually, I'm going to send you a thing. Can I send you a little gift? There was a specialty tea blend. So in the second book, in the second chapter, Hasani's mom is like a crafter of tea, and she brings her a cup of tea. And there's a woman who crafted the tea that's in that chapter of the book, and it's amazing. I'm gonna send you a little bit so that you can have it. I'd like did it for like the people who are in my Patreon, like they're getting them, but like But you're definitely a patron. Like, you got it. Thank you guys.
Yay. The answer to T is always yes.
Yes.
So thank you. I'm very humbled. I wish we could do this all evening.
Yeah, no, go for your next
But
thing. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And we will talk soon. And I'm so excited about the Sandcast.
Yay. Me too. I can't wait to see. Y'all will do a great job.
Yeah. All right. Bye.